Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt like you already knew their face? Not because they looked familiar or reminded you of someone else, but because you saw them in a dream weeks before you ever stood in the same room with them. What if that dream wasn't imagination at all? What if it was memory? Memory from a version of you that hasn't happened yet. I'm Larry Flaxman. For decades, I've studied strange human experiences through science and fringe research. This is the Curiosity Files. To understand why dreams can feel like memories, we have to look at how reality itself is structured. In 1957, physicist Hugh Everett at Princeton University proposed the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. His idea was simple but radical. Every time a quantum event has more than one possible outcome, reality splits. Not symbolically, physically. Each outcome continues in a separate branch of the universe. This means that there isn't just one version of you, there are actually countless versions. In one branch, you took that job. In another, you didn't. In one branch, you met that person. In another, you never crossed paths. All of these versions are equally real. You only experience the one, though, that you currently occupy. In physics, information is never destroyed. This comes from the principle of information conservation, which was formalized by Rolf Landauer at IBM in the 1960s. Information can change form, but it never disappears. If consciousness is tied to information, not just biology, then every version of you across these branches share a connected data structure. While you're awake, your awareness stays locked to one branch, but during sleep, that lock weakens. Your brain enters REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep, and this is when neural activity becomes much more chaotic. Your logic loosens, time perception shifts. A 2013 study from Harvard Medical School showed that REM sleep reduces executive control in the brain. These are the systems that keep your waking reality stable and structured. Your mind becomes more flexible, more associative, and less bound to straight-line cause and effect. Albert Einstein showed us that time is not a fixed line. It's actually part of space-time, which is a four-dimensional structure where past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Events don't vanish into history, they remain embedded in the fabric of space-time. Think of reality as kind of like a disk. Every frame already exists. The laser just reads one slice at a time. When you dream, the laser skips. You aren't seeing the future, you're sampling neighboring probability states. This brings us to something many people experience, the Mandela effect. Large groups of people remember events, names, and details that don't match current records. Nelson Mandela dying in prison. Spelling differences, logo changes. Psychology calls this confabulation, a reconstruction error in memory. But in a many worlds framework, there's actually another explanation. Your consciousness may have shifted between nearby branches. In one branch, the detail was different. Your memory isn't wrong, it's just aligned to another or different outcome. If branches can overlap in waking life, imagine how often they intersect in dreams. Now, let's talk about the shadow self. In psychology, Carl Jung described the shadow as the parts of your personality that you suppress. In paranormal research, the shadow is often treated as something external. From a quantum perspective, your shadow could be a version of you from another branch, a version that made the choices that you avoided, a version that lived the life that you didn't. When you meet this presence in a dream, it feels unfamiliar to you. but the emotional energy feels close because it is you. Now, let's talk about consciousness itself. In the 1990s, physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff proposed the ORC-OR theory, which was short for orchestrated objective reduction. They suggested that consciousness arises from quantum processes inside of microtubules, which are tiny structures inside neurons in your brain. In a 2014 paper from the University of Arizona, they argued that microtubules can support quantum coherence. That means that the brain may actually process information at a quantum level. And if that's true, then your mind isn't limited to local space and time. Quantum systems don't follow normal distance rules. So this connects us to entanglement. In 1935, Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen described what we now call the EPR paradox. Two particles can become linked. A change to one affects the other instantly, no matter the distance. If different versions of you are entangled, your brain becomes a receiver. It picks up patterns from parallel outcomes. This could help explain déjà vécu, which is not just a feeling, but a full recognition. You know what's about to happen. You know what someone will say. You feel the emotional weight of that moment. Neurology will call this a timing mismatch, but that doesn't explain the precision. If your consciousness aligns across branches for a moment, that recognition would feel exactly like a déjà vécu. You aren't remembering a fantasy, you're recognizing a version of yourself that already stood there and experienced that. Now, let's talk about retrocausality. This is the idea that future events can influence past states. Physicist Yakir Aronoff at Tel Aviv University showed in the 1960s that quantum systems can behave as if information flows backward in time. If the brain processes quantum information, your future experiences may send patterns backwards. Your dreaming mind receives those patterns. Your brain is a prediction engine. Neuroscientist Carl Friston at University College in London showed that the brain constantly models future outcomes to reduce uncertainty. But instead of guessing only from the past, your brain may scan probability space. If another version of you has already lived an outcome, your dreaming mind picks up that pattern. When it appears in waking life, it feels familiar. To a physicist, it's information alignment. To you, it feels like fate. Across history, people call these prophetic dreams. Modern physics gives us a non-mystical framework: information, probability, quantum coherence. You're not living one fixed story. You are navigating a network of outcomes. During sleep, those boundaries soften. Information slips through. Reality isn't smaller than we think. It's actually much larger. Dreams may be the only place that we actually glimpse its full scale. If this video gave you a new way to understand your experiences, support the channel by liking and subscribing. If you want to help keep the Curiosity Files running, consider supporting me through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. Thanks for watching. I'm Larry Flaxman, and this is the Curiosity Files.